Hello my loyal companions, welcome back to the channel. Now one of the questions I get the most in my Twitch chat or here on YouTube is, what tips do you have for newer players, especially since Steam has just opened and with an influx of new players? Everyone wants to know what are my tips for the newer players within the game, and that is what this video is going to be dedicated to. 5 tips for newer players within Rogue Company. Now whilst this is aimed at new players, the core mechanics that I'm going to be going over are really important for everybody, including myself and you more experienced players. So make sure you're checking up on yourself to make sure you're not missing some of the more basic and important mechanics within Rogue Company. But now guys, if you do go on to enjoy the video or you appreciate the educational content coming out from this channel, make sure you drop that like and subscribe. For now though, let's get into the video. Now the first thing is actually really important and something that seems really contrary to most of the things I say in a lot of my other content, but when you start out in the game, you want to pick and learn one character. Now the reason for this is because Rogue Company isn't a massively complicated game. In terms of the fundamental mechanics, it's all pretty simple, and if you can just take the time to learn one character, learn how they work, and just progress with them, learn the basic mechanics, learn the shoulder swap, and learn some of these other tips I'm going to be going over, you'll be in a really good spot. But jumping between characters left, right, and center every other game isn't going to do you a lot of good when it comes to these core mechanics because you're too busy focusing on the specifics of that character. Therefore, if you just look at one character off the start when you first start playing, you're going to be in a better position to learn the fundamentals of the game. Then you can essentially branch out into other characters. But what character do I recommend for you guys to learn the game on? Well, nice and simple. I've said it since literally the start of the game. It's going to be Ronin. Not only is she a free-to-play character, so you get her when you get the game, but she's also one of the best characters to learn the fundamentals on. Ronin is really good at being aggressive, being defensive, playing strategically, just running out and gunning because she is a duelist. And she's also pretty forgiving, given that she can buy tenacity to stop dying from grenades, which is really important. And she also has the ability to be unseen from any radars, reveals, whatever it be, due to her passive. That's a really good benefit for newer players as well, because then you can get the jump on people without them knowing that you're there. Overall, I just think Ronin is the best character, most adaptable character. The jack of all trades is what I've always called her. So I would recommend, if you're starting out the game, you pick up Ronin, she's the tutorial character, and you just play with her to learn the basics of the game. Then eventually you can branch out and you can decide what you want to play. If you want to be more aggressive, go for something like Chark or Scorch. If you want to be a little bit more defensive, play some ranged characters. Maybe pick up one of the snipers, or maybe even someone like Dallas or Seeker. Or say you want to be a little bit more utility heavy, you want to play around util and positioning and throwing those sort of things down, then maybe Vi or Trench is a good pickup for you. Whatever it be, Ronin is the good start to branch out into whatever you want within Rogue Company. Now for tip number 2, this is going to be one of the things I really want you to focus on, one of the core mechanics that makes Rogue Company so good and so important, and that is going to be the third person perspective. Unlike COD, unlike Halo, this is a third person game, which means you have the advantage of having your camera behind you so you can see your own model, but also get a really good view of what's around you as well. Having a third person perspective allows you to play on what we call a 3-peek, which is essentially hiding behind a wall so you're not visible to your enemies and being able to use your camera to see around on what's approaching. This is a massive, massive thing that you need to be using. You don't want to be peeking with your whole body where you can get shot and be seen. Instead, you want to be using your camera angle sneakily and tactfully to be able to see what's coming without putting yourself in danger. Understanding and playing around this mechanic is one of the things that's going to separate you from being that newish player to being someone who's actually pretty good, because it's such an important playstyle for you to be able to use. And again, it's so different from other games that I've listed off. And guys, make sure you are playing around that camera angle as much as possible. Whether you're standing up on the cover to look round, you can crouch sometimes to get a slightly different angle. Whether you're playing up or down, you can look what's below you if you're on a raised platform. There's lots you can do with that third person camera angle that puts you in a good position to stay safe and get good intel without dying, which is exactly what you want. So make sure you're using that camera angle, playing around with it, but also do remember that is going to mess up your crosshair placement. So make sure you're aware of where your crosshair is as well, so that you can eventually snap onto that target when they do out position and when you're ready to take that fight. Tip number 3 kind of goes hand in hand with that last one, and is probably one of the things that when I spectate newer players, I notice they do the least, and that is shoulder swap. Now, shoulder swapping is a mechanic within Rogue Company that lets you toggle between which shoulder your camera is sat behind. This allows you to have different camera angles and is also really important just for making sure you're getting the right information and right angle on that you possibly can. For example, if you walk up to a wall and you want to be looking down the alleyway on your right hand side, you want your camera looking over your right hand shoulder. That's going to give you the best idea of what you're looking at and give you the widest angle to play around. Whereas if it's on your left hand shoulder, you're not going to see as much and you're going to have to maybe peek out a little bit more than you want to. Now, there is actually an auto toggle shoulder setting within the game settings. that you can apply if you are very new and don't understand this mechanic and want to just see how it's meant to work. It's a pretty good AI at detecting when you should swap shoulders, so it's worth a go and kind of gives you an idea of exactly what shoulder you're going to want to be on different situations. But essentially, if you're looking to look more left or more right, you want to be on the respective shoulder for that. It's pretty simple when you get the hang of it, but again, a lot of people don't do it. And the amount of people I see die because of this, because they're not getting the right intel, or because they're just on the wrong shoulder when they peek out, is important. And that's all kind of important as well, because being on the right shoulder matters for your weapons and gunplay as well. If you go to peek a corner to your left, but you're on your right shoulder, you're overextending so much further than you have to be able to start shooting than if you're on your left-hand shoulder. It's a massive, massive difference between being on the right shoulder and wrong shoulder. And it's super important that you understand that mechanic properly if you want to be successful within Rogue Company. Tip number 4 is going to be about rolling within Rogue Company, a really important mechanic to the game's core fundamentals that I see being misused constantly. I see newer players rolling into fights, rolling in the middle of fights all the time, and just not maximizing the benefit of that roll, or rolling at the wrong time and leaving themselves in awkward position. Rolling is a fantastic evasive maneuver within Rogue Company. You want to be using it to dodge bullets, get into cover, reposition, or whatever it be. What you don't want to be doing is rolling into your enemies, because the period that you're rolling, you're completely vulnerable. You can't shoot back, and they can get those shots off on you basically for free. So you want to be really careful at the times you choose to roll, and really just avoid rolling in the middle of a fight at all. Now, if you're in a fight and you want to get out of the fight by ducking into cover, then obviously the roll makes a lot of sense. But if you're shooting somebody and planning on rolling and then shooting them again, that's really not going to be any good for you. The same applies for rolling out of cover to take a fight, like surprising them. Whilst it does look kind of flashy, and in very rare circumstances with the right gun, the right mechanics, the right knowledge of the game, that can be a play. Most of the time, if you're rolling into a fight, if you're rolling and then expecting to shoot, you're going to be in a really bad position. So guys, the only times I want you to roll within Rogue Company are you are in the open and want to get into cover, you want to move from cover to cover, or simply you are just trying to be evasive and escape as much as possible. Maybe maybe there's a sniper looking at you and you want to switch it up and serpentine a little bit, roll a little bit, bait out a shot, whatever it be. They're good times to roll, to be evasive, to be maneuverable, to just get out of a situation. You're rarely going to be rolling into situations. And really, until you get much, much better at the game, I wouldn't be focused on rolling as an aggressive mechanic at all. However, I will probably put up a video that shows you 5 more advanced tips and tricks that might involve some more aggressive rolling and maneuverability kind of mechanics within the game. And that's going to bring me on to the final tip, guys, which is going to be experiment with different game modes. Of course, there are a bunch of different game modes within Rogue Company, including Demolition, which is the primary ranked mode, the Search and Destroy S-type mode, which you definitely want to learn if you're looking to get into ranked and getting into Rogue Company properly. But there are a bunch of respawn modes such as King of the Hill, Strikeout, and the limited time mode that rotates, which is usually some sort of respawn mode such as TDM or something like that. The reason I want you to play different game modes, other than it just gets you to think more because you're playing different objective-based modes, so you really need to be thinking, and thinking is one of the biggest things that people do not do within Rogue Company. I swear people just don't engage their brain, like think about what you're doing, justify what you're doing. And playing different game modes, one, allows you to do that because you have to actively thinking about the objective, but the balance between one life mode and respawn is also a really valuable thing to be playing around. One life modes make you focus on your positioning, make you really, really consider what it is you're doing, because if you die, you're dead and you're out and you're a liability to the team. Whereas when you play a respawn mode such as King of the Hill and your lives matter just a little bit less, it gets you into more fast-paced gunfights, gets you the mechanics of playing around that shoulder swap, playing around how to move, how to fire, which weapons are good for which ranges, whether you should be using SMGs up close like you should, DMRs at range, when shotguns might be viable, whatever it is. Playing in respawn modes gets you into more action, more fighting, and therefore you get to see more of the mechanics of the game. Now, I generally think that playing respawn modes is great sort of for warm-ups and practice and just grinding, that sort of thing, and then you move to the one life modes and you put it in action, right? So do play around different game modes, do make sure you're comfortable in different game modes, and you'll learn the most about the game by doing that. So guys, they're going to be the 5 tips. Play one character to learn the game on. My idea is Ronin for you. Make sure you're focusing on your third-person camera angle, utilizing that shoulder swap, not dying because you're rolling out into people all the time like a Muppet, and play different game modes so that you know more about the game and can be more familiar with different paces the game can roll at. That's going to be the end of the video, guys, and if you did enjoy, make sure you drop that like and subscribe. You can also come follow me on twitch.tv/RADTHARGAMING, the live gameplay commentaries, also on Discord, Instagram, and have a TikTok, which you can go check out, all linked in the description below. For now though, guys, I hope you have a fantastic day, and as always, remember, be loyal, be brave, be relentless, and I'll catch you in the next video.